Thank you for that reminder. All right, we'll wait for her to get back. So yeah, so the way that I recognize and we recognize from dealing with people with ACIM Gather, so much people come in and they understand the words of the text, and they think they have a pretty good understanding of what it means, but how does it work? How does it work? How do you do it? And it's one thing to say, well, practice forgiveness, or you know let it go, or there's a lot of a lot of things that you just say, just do it. But how do you do it? And for me, it took a while of just trying to break it down and understand exactly what Jesus was saying to me about whatever it was, in the words. And I came to recognize that this is probably going to sound really crazy. I came to recognize that there were actually instructions in the book of A Course in Miracles. That he wasn't just saying fancy words about do this and do that. He is actually telling you how to do it. And so when I recognized that, oh, this is not just a nice idea like all the other teachings I had ever heard. There's actual instruction here at how to do it. And he not only says how to do it, but if you do this, you can expect that something's going to change. You're going to shift. There's going to be a difference in your life that you couldn't expect before. And so, once that hit me, that was actually what was happening. Then when I started looking through the course, I wasn't just looking at the words. I was looking at, okay, he says, I'm going to teach you how to do this. And then he goes through step by step how to do it. And it just fascinating to me. And so we're studying the Manual for Teachers and looking at the characteristics of a teacher of God. He's not just telling us, oh, be nice, be kind, be good, be happy, be joyful. He's telling us how to do it. And that's, just blows me away. It's just so fascinating to recognize that it's not just a book full of pretty words. It is a technology that, when used properly, actually changes my life and my everything and the world. It actually shifts the world when our minds begin to change in this way. So it's not just a nice thing to do, it's an imperative thing. And that's, I think, what we've been looking at when we've been reading through these characteristics. He's really egging us on and saying, hey, I really need you to do this. I really need you to do this. This is important right now. And, you've got to help me. And, for me, I just spent a lot of time thinking that was somebody else he was talking to, because I didn't really know how to do what it was he was telling me to do until I started realizing, oh, he's telling me how to do it here. I know I'm a little dense sometimes, I guess, but anyway. So anybody have any thoughts about that or anything else right now while I go and get our text to read?
I totally relate to what you're saying, so I'm in there with you.
It's just crazy. Here we go. So this is good. This is our, let me check and make sure that I still have the mic on Pal Talk. Sometimes.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Oh yeah, this is Regis. And yeah, just on what you were saying, Lynn, I was trying to figure out how to unmute. But I don't know, lately I've been just reminded of Helen and the reason why the course came to be through her, and just what thought just keeps coming to my mind is that she was just having a rough time with life in this world, in this body. And so the course, it is, like you say, it's here to help us, to practice, to become a part of us, to make life easy and happy. And Helen, of course, if you know her history, wasn't happy. She was extremely unhappy and just really just having a rough time just getting up every day, living and having peace and joy without fear. So I've just been reminded of that a lot lately, as to just live the course, to be the course, to become the course, because it's to help me allow the will of God, which we know the perfect will of God is my happiness. And from a child until no matter how old we want, no matter how we sum it up, we may say, I want a house, I want a college degree, I want a new job, I want a spouse, I want an Easter egg, whatever it is, we just wanting stuff that we think will make us happy. And so that whole montage gets so confusing and we keep reaching out at stuff like positions and corporate ladders and stuff that we think is going to finally satisfy that happiness. So that course came to Helen, who was successful in business, who was successful materially, but was just completely unhappy. And so, like you say, that the course is just really here, just more than just a theory, more than just something spiritual to study every day, but just to really become a part of us.
Absolutely. And yeah, thank you, Regis. And yeah, I hear you. Regis is on ACIM Gather a couple times a week, and sometimes for an extended time. He gives me a break. And I hear Regis tell stories about stuff that happens that, you're just like, how could you not just go through the world with a big smile on your face if everywhere you went, you knew that people loved you? And I think that's one thing about Regis that I find most beautiful, is that he really feels like wherever he goes, people love him. I don't know about you, but that hasn't always been my experience. So, I do think, besides being a naturally happy person, I think that you do take this course to heart and really do have a good grasp of what Jesus is talking about here. Anything else? Anybody else want to share anything? And welcome, Kathleen.
Sorry, I was late a little bit.
It's all fine, all good. Okay, well, so let's just get going. We're up to the 10th characteristic of the teachers of God, which is open-mindedness. And so if anybody would like to read, please read the first paragraph, and then we can just talk about what is he saying. Anybody want to read?
All right, I'll take a stab at it.
Okay.
The centrality of open-mindedness, perhaps the last of attributes the teacher of God acquires, is easily understood when its relation to forgiveness is recognized. Open-mindedness comes with lack of judgment. As judgment shuts the mind against God's teacher, so open-mindedness invites him to come in. As condemnation judges the Son of God as evil, so open-mindedness permits him to be judged by the voice of God on his behalf. As the projection of guilt upon him would send him to hell, so open-mindedness lets Christ's image be extended to him. Only the open-minded can be at peace, for they alone see reason for it. I love it.
Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts about that? I mean, I just see that's what happens when you stop judging, is that your mind just opens up, and nothing is wrong. You don't condemn anything. You just see everything as just being okay the way it is. And just, let the voice for God tell you what it is. What an amazing thing that is, when you recognize that it's just a decision. I just have to decide I'm open to everything, no matter what it is. And I'm not going to be afraid of it. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to think it can hurt me. I'm not going to think it can hurt anyone else. I just, whatever happens is okay. And I mean, that sounds really crazy, because in my experience, Lynn doesn't see it that way. Lynn sees a lot of things that Lynn thinks need to change, or not right, or just condemns outright. And so, when I look around and I see, I think I heard there were like two mass shootings today, people suffering. I see all this stuff. My mind is not open to a place where I can just say, yeah, it's okay. I don't have any, I'm not angry or afraid of any of it, and it's all okay. And I think really the only way that you can really do that is to truly understand that nothing is really happening here, that this is just a dream, and it's a dream that came from a script, and it's a story, and that, nobody really got killed, nothing really happened. It's just our judgment of what it is that makes it seem that it did. I don't know. What do you think about that? Anybody have any thoughts?
Yes, I think that as long as we think that we're separate, that's why we judge, because we think we judge another, we judge something outside. And when you stop judging, that's when you become one with God, because now you're one with everything. Judgment is always against something or someone else. And we think we're in a world of separate, that we're all separate. That's why we judge, because it's a world of illusion, and the illusion, we judge an illusion because we really think we're separate. So we judge that person and that thing and what happened over there. But the thing that I think he explains that when you stop the judgment, is that you stop believing that you're separate, and that's when you become one with God, because God is everything. So that's the oneness, when you stop believing in separation, which is the illusion. So.
Yeah, how do you do that? Oh, here comes Christina Louise. Hang on just a second. So yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying that I think open-mindedness allows me to allow others to be where they're at, without arguing my point of view, without having to be right about whatever it is I feel or I might think I'm right about at any given time. And really what I've come to find is I can disagree with a point of view of my brother without judgment. In other words, without pointing my finger at him as being wrong, I can just say, okay, we don't agree on this. And it's really helped me through, especially the last few years, with what was going on in this country and what still is going on in this country politically. I've seen families divided and friendships ended over, the past few years, as I'm sure a lot of us have. But I've also been able to have conversations that I've never been able to have before without getting all fired up about it at all. And just, like I said, allowing my brother to be where he's at, or where she's at, and without judgment. So, I mean, and oftentimes in these situations, the person I'd be having an interaction with would get triggered by my, I wouldn't call it indifference. I would just say, just by my non-agreement of whatever it is. And when I say non-agreement, I'm not actually saying I don't agree with you in all. Sometimes I am, but I'm not always doing that. Sometimes they just see that I'm not co-signing what they're trying to sell me. And it isn't because I'm judging them. It's hard for me to explain how that plays out, but it has made a difference. So what I'm trying to say is where I used to have this emotional reaction, emotional charge during some of these interactions, I find myself still having the interactions. I'm not avoiding these interactions, but the emotional charge that used to come with it isn't there anymore. So, that's what I've noticed.
Yeah,
I totally understand that. Like, like you don't get a charge because, like, we can disagree with Donald Trump. We can disagree with the insurrection on the Capitol, but I don't have to send those people to hell. Like those people that stormed the Capitol, I just felt like they were scared people who feels like they are victims of the world they see. They feel like nobody listens to me. They're taking our government. Nobody cares how I feel. So we're coming together as a mob and we're going to take back our power. But I don't have to feel that charge that you're talking about. And I didn't feel that charge because in total disagreement with the method, in total disagreement with everything that went on, but there's just that sense of non-judgment about it, just seeing it and saying yes or no, for or against, or really realizing there is nothing even to be against. When I read this first paragraph, the thing I guess that really helps me in this world, in this body, is when I see the word judgment, the first person, when we see the word judgment, we immediately go outward. We start thinking about as we relate to things outside of us and people outside of us. But when we see that word judgment, we need to first look at judgment, how I'm judging myself every day in every way. I spoke too soon. I shouldn't have spoke at all. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have made that decision. I shouldn't have took that job. I shouldn't have married that guy, whatever. But it's like and I always say this, when we let ourselves off the hook, then we start letting the world off the hook that we see. When the less and less that I judge myself, the more that I accept myself, that's when the open-mindedness comes. When I stop judging myself, when I stop beating myself up, when I stop all of the, I wish I had did this 20 years ago, I had did that 3 days ago. When I just really stop judging myself, that's when I became so open-minded to all of the things that were going on in the world that I see.
Yes, I just want to touch on the flip side of that real quick. And I agree with everything you're saying, Regis. It's amazing how it works, but it also works on the flip side. In other words, when the first few years I did this course, my first few times through the workbook, and when I was really practicing, and I still am, but when I was first practicing the forgiveness process and forgiving everything in my life, throughout my life, that has caused me pain in any way, whether it be childhood abusers, whether it be institutions like the schools I was brought up through, my conditioning, the government, the terrorists, right? I was forgiving, I was working all that stuff outside of me, and I was forgiving it, and it was working for me. And then I realized one day, I said, wait a minute, why is it I can forgive all these things, yet I find it so hard to forgive myself still, right? So, you know, it's like the flip side of what you're saying. You're saying forgive yourself, and then, or you know, find that, look at that judgment within yourself, and then you're able to apply it outside. Well, likewise, it works both ways. When I was forgiven everything on the outside, then I realized, wait a minute, I forgot I forgot to forgive one person. And, you know, and that day I actually found some forgiveness for myself. I found some compassion for myself. And, you know, I was hit hard by it. I cried. I remember crying and just really being able to forgive myself for the first time in a very long time. So thank you.
Thank you,
Hi.
Tom. Thank you, Regis.
Hi, I'm Rabina, and I just wanted to say something. You said, what's the process, you asked, Lynn? And I feel the process for me is surrendering. And I think lesson 98 today was, I will accept my part in God's plan for salvation. And it talks about taking a stand. And I wish I can tell you, you know, I get pulled by passion, but most of the time I get pushed by pain. And when I get to a point of I totally cannot, my will cannot do it anymore, is when I finally surrender to the one and take a stand that I won't do that anymore. I will not. I'm the guard to my mind, and I will not allow myself to go there anymore. And it's a switch. It's like a weird switch, like somebody turned on the light. And it's a choice that I take, and hopefully one day it'll be less and less pain that I have to go through, or the endurance of the pain. That finally the light comes on and says, I take a stand today and I won't allow it. So that's my process. It's not a pretty process. It's pretty messy. You don't want to be up here, you know, with me. But it's surrendering to self, you know, and that's the process for me, you know. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabina. Christina Louise had her hand up.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah, the way we work here, you can just talk whenever somebody's not talking. So.
Okay. Well, everybody was talking, so it was also good. I can't see myself, but I guess, can you see me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay, awesome. Hi, Dove. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Yay. I just wanted to kind of emphasize or relate to what the second to last gentleman, I didn't catch your name, but you said, I think it's kind of hard to explain, but you started the sentence, I really got what you said. And you said something to the effect of, you've seen families torn apart and friendships torn apart because we're not in agreement or acceptance of our brother or our sister. And I just kind of wanted to testify that it was so baffling to me just this last week when my brother said something to me that triggered me and I froze. And it's not that I said anything to him, but there are no secrets, right? Like he knew that I wasn't accepting him. He knew that I wasn't supporting him. He knew that I wasn't agreeing with him, even though I was trying to sweep it under the carpet and let it go because I knew it was my stuff, because I'm triggered and I know that my anger or my fear is not justified. So I was trying to sidestep it, but he got so triggered, and it literally, I don't think what's real can really be threatened, but in human terms, you know, if we weren't so committed to a holy relationship and our practice of A Course in Miracles would have literally torn our family apart. Just that one instant of disagreement trying to, and I, again, I didn't say anything to him. I wasn't trying to make it. In fact, I was trying to downplay it. But the fact remains is that, you know, I wasn't in acceptance. I wasn't in agreement. I wasn't open-minded. I was very closed-minded, and that was felt and super triggering to the love of my life, you know? So I've just been in this last week super challenged, but super grateful for the character refinement and the deepening of my practice that's going on as we as a family walk through what others might perceive as a negative situation or a crisis. And I'm grateful for this time together. So thank you everybody for showing up and yay. Okay, that's all I got.
Thank you, Christina Louise. Anybody else have any thoughts about this first paragraph?
I'll just say that, you know, that last line, only the open-minded can be at peace, for they alone see reason for it. Peace here is like being comfortable in your own skin. I mean, nothing bothers you. If something is said that is against you, it's okay. You just accept it. I think that's the word that Christina used. If you can just accept things the way they are, you are comfortable in your own skin. Some of you know that I have a group called Open Minds on Facebook, and if you're not a member of it, please do join Open Minds for ACIM. And one of the things that we say there comes from Osho Rajneesh. He says, only the open-minded are ready to listen to what goes against them. A closed mind listens only to what supports it. And you know, if you're listening only to that which supports you, basically you are defending being right. And he says, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? So the way you are right is I only tune into people that agree with me. And of course, that's just defending, which is really attacking yourself. When I defend myself, I'm attacking myself because who I am is really an open, whole, complete, perfect, innocent son of God. And I say, no, I just want to see it my way. And once you say, I want to see it my way, you're excluding everybody else, which means that the ego is controlling you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dov. Anybody else have any thoughts about that first paragraph?
Well, what Dove said, it's Christina, just inspired me to share. Like, what do we, like, my question for the Holy Spirit was, okay, how do I relate to somebody? Like, if somebody is, you know, attacking me, or even if I don't perceive it as an attack, it's just like making claims against me or coming to me with an issue or a problem. How do I respond without defensiveness? I was like, well, what other option is there other than to explain my quote side of the story? And finally, Spirit, through a loved one today, answered that question without me needing to physically ask the other person. She just mentioned it. She said, you know, you can just say, I disagree, but I accept what you're saying. Right? Like, I was like, oh, that's like the answer to, like, I don't need to go into my side of the story. I don't need to explain things. I can just hear you and say, okay, I accept what you're saying. I just don't agree, but I accept you, rather than trying to sidestep it, fight, flighting, or freezing. So I found that like super helpful, at least for me in my vocabulary and navigating, you know, relationships and triggers and stuff like that. So I just wanted to share.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when we have disagreements with people, sometimes it's really helpful. Of course, I do nonviolent communication, so it's kind of just a natural thing to reflect back to them what you think they're saying to you. Sometimes you may misunderstand exactly what someone is saying or what they're trying to present. And I think for the most part, to really connect and understand that each other understand what you're thinking, what you're actually saying, really goes a long way to, first off, for them to know that you're listening and you want to know. And second off, because then you can communicate better. And sometimes people don't feel like they're being heard, or they, you know, and I'm not saying you do this, but it does happen that way. And a lot of times when you talk it out, you might find that you actually do agree, because you're not really, you're both, you're whatever you're doing or thinking, you're doing it how you think is the best way for something to be, and so are they. So sometimes it just takes letting them be right, and recognizing that you both want the same thing. You know, that doesn't mean backing down and, you know, being, you know, whatever. It just means, you know, I don't really know what anything is or what it's for. So I'm not in a position to judge. Go ahead. Was that Tom?
No, it wasn't me, but I would like to just touch on what Reed just said real quick, just about being able to watch that whole insurrection and to see in his brother, you know, I mean, just to see that this is a brother who's hurting. This is a brother who feels unheard. You know, to be able to do that, if we can do that out on the road every day, you know, just driving in New Jersey, it's crazy. So, you know, if we could take that, what he was talking about, everywhere we go with us, and see that in our brother and our sister, I mean, the world would be a much better place. It's beautiful. That was beautiful. Thank you, Regis.
I just want to thank you guys so much, because this is just a ripple. Like, I literally had this conversation with somebody. She was just hearing me earlier today, and I said, how did you do that? Like, like, how did you do that? Is that NBC? Is that compassion? Like, what is that? And it's exactly what Lynn was saying, just repeating back to the other person what they said, letting them know that they're heard, and, you know, seeing them as a hurting person, not somebody with a sword to my throat, has been like, I'm really like stepping up into that more. And Lynn, if you practice NVC and you want to practice partner, I would love to kind of pick your brain and try some stuff out with you, because I want to up level in that department.
Oh, you know what? That you're the second person who's been asking about NBC. So that seems like something that's a good thing for us to do. All right, do we want to go ahead and read the next paragraph?
Yeah,
Are we
Lynn,
ready
I
for
can
that?
read it.
Okay, thank you.
How do the open-minded forgive? They have let go all things that would prevent forgiveness. They have in truth abandoned the world and let it be restored to them in newness and in joy so glorious they could never have conceived of such a change. Nothing is now as it was formerly. Nothing but sparkles now, which seemed so dull and lifeless before. And above all are all things welcoming, for threat is gone. No clouds remain to hide the face of Christ. Now is the goal achieved. Forgiveness is the final goal of the curriculum. It paves the way for what goes far beyond all learning. The curriculum makes no effort to exceed its legitimate goal. Forgiveness is its single aim at which all learning ultimately converges. It is indeed enough. The second line, they have let go all things that would prevent forgiveness, and then they have in truth abandoned the world. When I was reading that, something flashed in my mind that just happened today. It was funny because when I was reading, you know, they have let go all things, and I was thinking about attachments that we have. And I realized today at work that I had an attachment to it. And this is where it comes in about, you know, you gotta laugh and not to take life too seriously. Because in a meeting today, my boss said, Karen. And I said, yes. And I had, you know, because I was for sure she was going to bark an order at me. So I had my pen ready to like write down whatever she wanted me to do. And I'm like, yes. And she goes, could you be a little less serious? And and I said, what? Because I've never been accused of being too serious, you know, and especially in a meeting, I usually am the opposite way. And she goes, yeah, geez, you're so serious. You're taking everything so seriously. And I kind of stopped in my tracks and I realized like I was taking things too seriously. And I think that when I think of open-mindedness too, I feel like it's kind of, you know, not taking things, not taking what is not real so seriously. And that goes into the whole thing about listening to other people's opinions and judgments that you may disagree with. If you take all this and what's in this world seriously, you're going to have, you know, your buttons are going to be pushed all the time and you're going to be triggered. But if you just look at it like, this is just a dream, you know, it really doesn't mean anything. You know, I think things can be a lot better. So.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Karen Ann. Anybody else have anything?
But a lot too has to do, because I was hearing people, this one is sad and this one. The thing is that all of this is a projection of the ego. That's what we have to understand. Not understand why this person is, because it's all a projection of the ego. So once you get that, that's how you become open-mindedness. It's like you sort of like leave this mind, and that's why it says, it's the other paragraph, so then it lets a Christ image to be extended. Once you leave the images of the projection of the ego, it is replaced by the Christ. So that's what we have to understand. It's a projection, but once you make peace with it, then it's the images of Christ that replace that. So that's why it becomes a joy, glorious. So it's all of this world. You're in it in the projection of the ego. You leave it, and then it's the extension of God. There's those two pictures. So it's not separate things and separate bodies, this one and this one. It has nothing to, it's a projection of the ego. If you see somebody sad, we shouldn't feel sad. We should look at that person the way God sees that person. That's how you help her or him get out of it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or
yeah, I understand what you're saying. You know, I think that the problem is that it has to do with our belief about things. You know, I believe that this is a, you know, you had a baby and, you know, you're having a wonderful time with the baby. I believe that's really happy and it's a good thing. So I'm going to, you know, if I find out, you know, you're miserable and you're having a terrible time, then I'm going to judge, what I believe should be happening for you isn't happening, and therefore there's something wrong with you or something wrong with the world or whatever. It's what we think should be happening compared to what is actually happening, which is what you call arguing with reality. When you argue with what's happening and you say this shouldn't be, like you know, and it's not like this need not be the way Jesus talks about it. He's talking about feelings. This is looking at the world and looking at the ways things are and saying one thing is better than another. There's an order of difficulty in miracles. There's some things that can be overcome easily and other things that are really, really bad. You know, it comes right down to that whole idea that, you know, when the very first miracle principle, there is no order of difficulty in miracles, is that we have to learn to see that it's all the same. And, you know, I know what you're saying, Kathleen. You know, it really is, coming to see that this is a dream, but you're not going to see it's a dream if you're taking it seriously. And so, I think that's what, Karen Ann was pointing out, is that, how seriously we take it because of our belief about how it should be, or what things, we like or don't like. When we take that too seriously, we can't be open-minded, because I've already got a judgment. And so the really truly open-minded person is not going to have an opinion about anything. Only egos have opinions. So there's no opinion that's going to come out of an open-minded person. They're just going to see things as everything is perfect. Let all things be exactly as they are become the absolute motto of a person with that. I don't know. What else? Anybody else have a thought?
Just what you said, Lynn, about, the first miracle principle, there is no order of difficulty in miracles. That too allows us to open our mind, because it gets rid of our comparison to others. In other words, there was a time when I would look at my problems and I would say, my problems are way worse than that guy's problems, or there was also a time when I would say, my problems aren't as bad as this person's problems. So I really don't need the help, because I'm not that bad yet. I'm not suffering that bad yet, as bad as that guy. So either way, I'm selling myself short. And it's just a good reminder. So thank you on that.
So along with forgetting that this is all illusions, we're really forgetting, to me, it's about level confusion, that we're forgetting who we really are. And if we remembered everything in the context of God, there just wouldn't be any judgment. It's impossible. It wouldn't be there. And to me, that's the important part, remembering everyone in the context of God.
Exactly. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you mention level confusion, that is something that, a lot of times people think, well, level confusion, we're just stuck with it. No, you're not stuck with level confusion. You can think from a different level. You can think with the Holy Spirit. You don't have to be confused. You just shift your thinking, and you do have a different experience.
Then you don't even get into the, do I agree or disagree? It's just not about that. It's seeing the truth in them and the truth in myself, and it transcends everything else.
Exactly.
It's really like, instead of letting the ego think for you, you're letting the Holy Spirit think for you. That's what you do.
See, but I feel like agreement or disagreement can be a very powerful tool as well. I'll give you an example on that. There was a time early on, I keep looking back to early on, when this was all very new to me and I was in a very different place. And I still didn't like myself very much. And I remember there was a time I was with a friend and I was coming down on myself to my friend. I was beating myself up in front of my friend. And I was, like I said, I was just being extremely hard on myself. And he was listening. That's all he was doing, was providing the space for me to have that moment. But when I was looking, he was giving me his full attention. And when I was looking in his eyes and beating myself up, I saw no agreement coming from him. And that was a miracle in and of itself, because when I didn't see any agreement in what I thought about myself coming from him, there entered a very small thought into a barely open mind, but it was open enough to let this thought in. And the thought was, could I be wrong about what I think about myself? And from that point forward, healing just started pouring in. So, agreement or disagreement doesn't have to be a statement. of me saying, I disagree with you. But it could be a statement of just in my eyes, you don't see any agreement coming from me when you're coming down on yourself or coming down on the world. That's all.
That makes me, hi guys. That makes me think of that's the proper use of denial, right, Tom? That's a beautiful story. And that's what it made me think of, is why he talks about we denied the denial of God, basically. It sounds to me like that's what your friend did for you. He denied your
Yes.
definition of your incorrect definition of yourself, and it was a miracle. That's a really solid example of that, because that idea is really slippery sometimes for me. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And that would be a friend remembering who you really are.
Yes.
That's really cool. That's beautiful. And when we do that, I mean, that's another thing of NVC, nonviolent communication, because Marshall Rosenberg, who started that, was a student of Carl Rogers, and Carl Rogers had, and so was Bill Thetford. Carl Rogers had a principle which was called unconditional positive regard. And basically it was that no matter who you're dealing with, no matter what the situation is, you regard them conditional, you regard them positively, no matter who they are or what they've done. You just see them as the Christ, basically, is what true unconditional positive regard is. You see them as the Christ. They may be acting out, they may be saying stupid things, they may be be doing anything that you dislike, but it's not what they're doing that you're looking at. You're looking at the person, the being whom they are, and accepting them unconditionally, recognizing that they are the same thing that you are. And that it can be so helpful and so beautiful when you decide not to judge. And in fact, I think that's what Jesus says in, is it the psychotherapy pamphlet, Dove, or the Song of Prayer, where he says that the purpose of the therapist is, or that healing starts when the therapist stops judging the patient or doesn't judge the patient.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Dove heard that, but that's basically what it is, that it's when we stop judging that healing occurs. And that's what he's talking about here in this section is, we become the healers because we are not judging our brothers, where we're, that's that's the whole point of this, is to come to the point where we're no longer being the arbiter of right and wrong.
Yeah, it is in the psychotherapy pamphlet, and that's really only the ego judges. So when you stop judging, the ego is not in control anymore. I mean, there are times it's very difficult to keep someone in positive, high regard if they're abusing you or they're offensive. But the ego will always judge and say, you can't do that to me. And the ego is just seeing something outside of it, whereas spirit doesn't see anything outside, just sees you as perfect. So if you're allowing spirit to run your life, spirit will always see your brother as yourself, as perfect.
And anyone that knows me knows my very favorite word is namaste. And it means the divine in me sees and honors the divine in you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely.
No. I would like to ask Dove a question. Dove, you have been doing this, I don't know what, 40 some odd years. And do you still, because of your practice, do sometimes, and this is a real honest question, people may rub you the wrong way?
They do. Happens every day. To the extent that you can smile quickly after it is to the extent that you're doing the course. without the course, you wouldn't be ever smiling at all, ever.
Right.
The knee-jerk reaction is to say, hey, listen, I don't like that tone of voice or the way you said that to me. But you want to restore your mind to peace as soon as possible. As soon as you become aware of what you're doing, you can do that. You just don't have to keep going in the direction of the ego. The ego will speak first. That doesn't mean you have to keep following it. Is that helpful?
Oh yeah, yeah. You know what the interesting part is? I don't know why I can do this and not. I can do it in one area, like the political environment. I saw spewing all over Facebook, and I just chuckled about it. And they're in their classroom. I don't have. But if something happens between my mother and my sister, then there's judgment. Maybe because I have attachment to it. That's what I'm thinking. I can do it with one area, saying they're in their classroom, but yet I have an attachment to this other area. So how do you let go of attachment?
Well,
Do you understand what I mean?
Getting back to the first thing that you asked, there's a woman, Reverend Terry Cole Whitaker, who wrote a book, What Other People Think of Me Is None of My Business. To the extent that you can live in that, you don't have to be bothered by anything. The attachment is really the attachment to listening to the ego's judgment of what other people are thinking of me. I mean, that's the only thing that has to be let go of, is the attachment to ego's belief. I use the word belief as it has a belief system that the other people are attacking it. The Course tells you there's nothing outside of you. This is what you must ultimately understand. So the attachment is to the belief that there's something outside of you that's attacking you. The only thing that's attacking me is my own ego.
I get that. So there's some undoing that I have to do. I get it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
As you become aware of this, it's easier to let it go. I mean, a lot of times people say things to me that are very sour, and I kind of just shrug it off, smile, and it doesn't even mean anything. It also depends on the area. If I'm sensitive to, say, financial money matters, and someone says something in that particular area, I might, have a knee-jerk reaction, which is the ego. And yet, if someone says something about the way I look, my appearance, my clothes, I don't like the way you look, those kind of things don't even bother me at all.
Yeah, they're segregated from whatever. Okay, it's just normal. I guess it's just part of the process.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. And if the thing is that it's when I really began looking at the way that this was working for me, I did absolutely understand everything. Every opinion I have is a decision that I've made to make one thing different than another, one thing better than another, whatever. And that the whole idea that my opinions have any meaning whatsoever is just really laughable, because it's like, do I have an opinion of the sky, it's too big, or do I have an opinion of you walk too slow, or whatever it is that I'm thinking. Those are just ideas in my mind. What is too big? What is too slow? What are any of these things in reality? Any of the things we use to judge each other, you voted for the wrong person, or you smell funny. I mean, we just pick anything that another person exhibits and decide right there and then, this is good or this is bad. And then we either love them for it or hate them for it. And then if we can get them to change, then we'll still find something wrong with them, because you're never going to ever, until you completely give up all opinions, you're never going to get rid of those thoughts. And it's just my
Yeah, but we have to understand too, there's not another person talking to you. That is the ego giving you the illusion that it's another person. It is not there. It is the ego talking to you. That's what it is. So when you free yourself from the ego, then everyone you see is Christ. That's what it is. There's not a person saying this to you. That is the illusion. It is the ego making you believe that there's a person that is, it's the ego talking to you. It's a projection that it is giving to you. So it's not the person, it is the ego.
Also,
So
the 12,
there's one problem and one solution. The one problem is the ego. It's not the 7 billion people. There's one, it's the ego that makes you believe there's another saying this to you. It is the ego in your mind saying this to you.
That's true, Catherine. That's true.
That's absolutely true. It's Rabina, were you saying something?
I was,
D.
yeah. The 12-step programs have a great teaching around detachment, which is Q-tip, quit taking it personally. That's what's getting us in trouble. Where, you know, where it shows where in one area I'm not offended or affected by something because I'm not taking it personally, and in another area I am. Because I'm
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
So it's a Q-tip principle.
Yeah,
Quit taking it personally.
that's lesson 24. I do not know my own best personal interest. And notice that 25 says, I don't even know what anything is for, which happens to be my mantra lesson. I don't know. I don't know what anything is for. If you see that person outside of you, as Kathleen says, which is not outside of you, attacking you, you're listening to the ego. But when you come to, I don't know what anything is for, that's the easiest way to get to open-mindedness. The easiest way.
Yeah, because it makes no sense what the ego does anyways. And that's why you're better off. It says, do not analyze the ego. Do not analyze nothing of the ego. Once you realize it is, the ego is everything. It is talking to you. And once you realize that, it's like, okay, I'm not going down. I'm not listening to this. That's it. I'm done.
exactly. All right. Well, it looks like our time is up.
Oh,
I know.
Maybe we can go another 15 minutes. What do you want
You guys
to
want to go
another
for a
15
while?
minutes?
I mean, I'm happy if we want to read the next paragraph and finish this
Yeah,
section up.
we can at least finish up the number 10. Kathleen, can I ask for a favor? Can you lower the volume on your speaker or your microphone? Is that possible? Because your volume, at least over here, is twice as loud as everyone else.
Yeah, it's very loud.
Okay.
All right.
Is it better now? Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe if you just are farther back from your microphone, that might help too. Okay, so who wants to read the last paragraph?
I'll read it. You may have noticed that the list of attributes of God's teachers does not include things that are the Son of God's inheritance. Terms like love, sinlessness, perfection, knowledge, and eternal truth do not appear in this context. They would be most inappropriate here. What God has given is so far beyond our curriculum that learning but disappears in its presence. Yet while its presence is obscured, the focus properly belongs under curriculum. It is the function of God's teachers to bring true learning to the world. Properly speaking, it is unlearning that they bring, but that is true learning in the world. It is given to the teachers of God to bring the glad tidings of complete forgiveness to the world. Blessed indeed are they, for they are the bringers of salvation. That's beautiful.
I do love the line that true learning is unlearning. I mean, when people come to the course and they actually think they're going to learn something, only the ego loves to learn things, and the ego loves the course. By the way, ego loves new concepts. I just learned a new concept, but when you get into what this course is about, it says your salvation is about escaping all concepts, which is why that lesson 189, paragraph 7, the one that he says, simply do this, be still. Do not take with you one thought of what you are or what God is. Hold on to nothing you ever learned from this world, nothing you ever thought was good or true or real or right. Hold on to nothing. Forget this world, forget this course. He's telling you to forget the course. So he's saying that the course is a crutch. And when you finally are able to let go of the crutch, you're free. But as long as you're counting on the book to show you something, the book can't show you something. It's just freeing you of what you've been attached to for such a long time.
You come with holy, empty hands into your God.
Yes, exactly.
Beautiful.
Yes, and I think he says to let go of the course, because I think some people may get, how should I put it, not obsessed with the learning, but reading it and they know it by heart, but don't really know what it means, and they continue years and years. And I think that after a point that you get the meaning of the undoing, it's time to put it into action and let go of the book, let go of the course, and be that.
Yes, then you become the Course in Miracles. Is exactly what happens. You become a Course in Miracles. And, you know, for me, I'm not there yet, because I'm still, every time I'm reading it, I'm recognizing, oh, yeah, here's here's something I haven't been doing every day, every moment. You know, I'm really, you know, as far as we think we've gone and as far as we think we're going, really, when you look at how you deal with the world every day, that's the evidence of whether or not we're really doing the work, or just reading the words. And you know, I think everyone in this group has evidence to me very clearly that you're not here just to read the words, and you really are here to do the work. And I so much appreciate being here with you all and being in the midst of these mighty companions. It's what a gift. Thank you all.
Thank
And
you.
to teach is to demonstrate. So when you're doing the work, you're the demonstration. When he says, teach not that I died in vain, teach that I did not die, by demonstrating that I live in you. So it's like Jesus is you, and he sees the face of Christ in all that he meets, because he sees the light. He's dedicated to see that his brother is the Son of God.
It's so practical. You know, every interaction I have in the world is, and especially if it would be what would look like normally a negative interaction, it's an opportunity for me to be saved. And it's my brother who's giving me my brother who's annoying me, or who's causing me to react, to have that inner reaction. He's the one giving me that opportunity to be saved. He's showing me where I still need to look, what I still need to look at. So thank you to him. He really is my savior. I do see the face of Christ in him. He is my savior. My brother is my savior.
That's good, Thomas. That's good. That's really good.
And especially when you realize that all of the things that you have been accusing your brother of all this time are things that you've just projected out onto him from your own from your own thinking about yourself. You know, when I'm not happy with myself, my own state of mind, then I look out and I see faults in everybody. But when I, am accepting of myself, I look out and I see nothing has gone wrong. And that is the secret of salvation right there. That is true salvation, is realizing nothing has gone wrong. Everything is okay.
It just occurred to me that what we project out is what we believe we lack. If I'm afraid of something because I lack it, that's when I will see somebody out there to project that lack onto and blame them for my lack. It just occurred to me. So thanks everybody for that. Was like my own aha just now.
Yeah, because the course says that lack and loss does not exist. It's only in the ego mind that makes us believe that lack exists, loss exists. It doesn't. Anything that's painful does not exist. If it's painful, it's from the ego. So me, it helps me if something happens to me and I feel sad or pain. I'm like, okay, this is not real. That is from the ego. There's the opposite. There's the light in this, and I go to that picture, and that helps a lot, a lot.
Beautiful. Anybody else have any thoughts? I guess, this last paragraph, he does say the characteristics of God's teachers are not, love and sinlessness and perfection, and knowledge and all those kind of things. That's what everybody is. But us, we have a special curriculum that's really focusing on being these things, being this way, because we can walk in the world without fear and with the power, the same power that Jesus walked in the world with. That's what he's asking us to do and be. And so, and obviously, I don't think I'm ready for that, but Jesus does, because he's the one that assigned this to me, and all of you as well. So thank you for this.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you
so
guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for staying over.
you.
And
Hey,
we'll
everybody,
start
thank
next
you
week
very
on
much.
Thank
how
you.
is healing
Good night.
accomplished. That's going to be fun. That's what I
Namaste,
really want
Dee.
to know.
Namaste, everyone.
Namaste. I love you guys.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Night. Meeting for,
I do.
let's see what happened.
I guess it's just you and me now.
I put in meeting for all, and just you and I are here now. That's
What?
crazy.
I didn't hear you.
All right, I'm ending.
Okay.